Materialization of Aether. In this video, I wanted to show the materialization of Aether, but first a bit of background. Knowledge about Aether has always existed, and only during the times of Einstein did it change. A special operation was carried out to ban this knowledge, with Mendeleev. In the table, Aether is located in the initial cells, coronae and neutroni. The atoms that produce water, carbon and acid are called hydrogen, carbon and oxygen. But only at the beginning it is Aether that gives birth to all atoms. How exactly Aether moves, what it is, and what the sizes of the elementary building blocks of matter are, is explained by Atsukovsky Vladimir Akimovich. In the new, or more correctly, the deliberately forgotten science of ether dynamics. Back in the 1960s, Russian scientists already knew where useful minerals are formed. By the emission of certain gases and other accompanying signs, it is possible to reliably determine the location of those or other materialized substances. In exactly what place and at what depth? How do ether streams enter the Earth? And how do they carry thousands and thousands of pieces of soil of various sizes into space, which then travel through space, and we later call them comets? There are entire fields with such craters on Earth, and the same thing is found on other planets. It's no longer a secret that oil that has been pumped out to zero is fully restored within several decades. And that oil is a product of vital activity. Megatons of bacteria living in the Earth's crust, feeding on hydrogen, with which the Earth's mantle is simply oversaturated. It materializes everywhere in such quantities that the scientist Vladimir Polivanov claims that the entire world energy sector could easily be switched exclusively to hydrogen, collecting it directly from the Earth in places where it accumulates and flows. Physicist Alexei Zolotaryov explains how the materialization of clouds occurs at different altitudes up to 120 kilometers at any temperature. We are so unaccustomed to thinking critically and so conditioned to religiously believe the explanations of scientists about how the world around us works that we are unable to show any skepticism. How can clouds condense in winter at very low temperatures? There are so many clouds that for entire months the sun can't break through to the Earth. You think snow evaporates, but it stays until spring and doesn't go anywhere. And when it melts in the spring, the clouds, on the contrary, thin out and the sun starts shining constantly. And we probably think that clouds are born in some other country on the other side of the Earth and come here just to float around. Simple observations show that clouds materialize right here, on the spot, and then the wind carries them away. Anyone can check this by watching the process outside the city or while traveling. Clouds most often materialize above the fractures of the Earth's crust. Water also materializes right inside the Earth, creating underground rivers, lakes and seas. For example, the underground sea that supplies Moscow, according to calculations, should have run out decades ago. But it is precisely materialization that continuously replenishes it. Progressive scientists know about the ether and the materialization of matter, but their work is not funded. Research in this direction is being held back, and all they can do is enlighten curious students during lectures. But the government doesn't give money for experiments and development, and you will never see demonstrative experiments showing how matter materializes out of nowhere, even though it should look exactly like magic. One of the signs of water materialization is a sharp drop in the surrounding temperature. That's why, for example, we have hail, pre-storm winds, and a drop in temperature before rain. Fortunately, such materialization is widely recorded on phones, video cameras, and documented as unexplained wonders. Let's browse the internet, and what do we find on this topic with such temperature effects accompanying the process? Here is a phenomenon called an ice tsunami. It was recorded in 2013 in the state of Minnesota, United States of America, and in Canada. Here we see how the wave of materialization came from the direction of the lake. There was no mechanism that could push these icy snowdrifts made up of masses of flat icicles like that. The explanation about the wind is unconvincing, since there is no wind in the frame, it's calm, and it's May with 15 degrees outside. Here we see how the materialization moved like a high wave, and after some time it collapsed the structure with an ever-increasing mass of ice. And here we can clearly see the materialization itself, the one that appears out of nowhere in these frames. In this frame, the ice materializes right inside the snowdrifts. and they collapse as if a snow-producing machine was inserted inside. The scale of the materialization is significant. Here is another materialization of water, but this is already a different event. Here, the appearance of the ice floes is even more impressive since the wave doesn't move anywhere, but appears right at a single point, out of nowhere. People are happy, they're having fun. And who would like to see how the ether moves in our space? Let's turn on the well-known plasma ball, made using Tesla's resonant coil technology, and observe the ether lines illuminated by plasma discharges. That's exactly how they move in space. Lightning also strikes along these lines during a thunderstorm. It turns out that the ether is also closely connected with the generation of electric and magnetic fields. Thus, our ancient ancestors were able not only to draw electricity from the air in the required amount, but also to control the process of materialization, creating the necessary materials or even finished objects and devices by structuring the flows of ether. They could do it, but we, so enlightened, cannot.